Okay, hello again, everybody. This is just a continuation of our previous episode on just an introduction and a recap of what communication is and what are the models of communication and the five C's of communication. So, we discussed that in our previous session. And tonight or today, we will be discussing the power of images. So at the moment, you know what happened to us? We're facing the post Odette situation. And again, we don't have electricity yet. So I've had to work in coffee shops and co working spaces. And tonight, I'm actually recording this in a coffee shop near our house, and the staff, they were so kind. It's the place is closed, but they they kept it open so that I can just continue my work or finish my work. So shout out to Mosha Cafe, thank you. Miss Merce and Miss Yozra, the staff, know your coffee shop's people. That's a really good communication tip. Know the people who serve you and who make your food and who work around you. That's going to be just a pro tip class. And here's another pro tip: know who our non-teaching staff are in BILC. So you might get quizzed one of these days, no? Kinsa ang tiglimpyo, who cleans BILC, who's the one who cleans our restrooms or our CR, what are the names of our guards, what's the name of the man who drives the shuttle. If you've been on the shuttle is for teachers, but we also offer it to students if they need a ride. So thank you, thanks to BILC for that. And if you don't know the names of these people, like kung kinsa atong guard, kung kinsa ang drive sa inyong shuttle, kung kinsa ang limpyo sa inyong CR, then I encourage you to get to know them. Because you that's it's a key life skill to know the people who work around you. Okay, the people in our admin office, I hope you know their names. Right, let's proceed. And for this session, we're not going to have a game. We're going to jump straight into our lecture. And I really want this to be interactive. I'm used to having like a conversation with my students, but with the limitations that we currently have, that's been very difficult to do. So I hope that as you listen to this lecture, you're taking down notes. That's one way you can interact. And you're commenting. That's another way that you can interact with me as well. Okay, let's proceed. So this session will be all about the power of images. So, in terms of talking about the power of images, we will also be discussing how to evaluate messages. How do you critically approach anything that you read or see or watch online or even offline? As a purposive communicator, as an intentional communicator, you're going to need to build that skill, and we're going to talk about why you need to do that. We will also talk about a field which really focuses or which really harnesses the power of images, and that is the field of advertising. And later on in this little talk, I'm going to be sharing with you some tidbits, some very basic information. This is not a major communication subject. It's an introductory subject for those who are in social work. So everything that you learn from this lecture, I hope that you will think of how you can apply it in your social work practice. All right, let's proceed. So the first question is, why is it important to evaluate the messages we consume? Sige daw. Nganong importante nga ato nga siguro i-evaluate, i-analyze, atong huna-hunaon, no, critically think and and well, to really just look at the value in the messages that we consume, right? What do the things that we read and watch and see have, how do they influence us, and how does that in turn influence what we want to do, what you want to do as future social workers? Okay. So really the most basic answer is that we're always under the influence. There's a little video that I want to show you. It's on influence and persuasion. I'll be posting that link below so you can watch it at another time. But this is the gist or the core. We are always under the influence. What does that mean? From the moment we open our eyes in the morning, we're always exposed to a message, to something that is meant to influence us, whether it's the sound of our alarm, maybe it's a song that uplifts your mood, right? Or it's a bell that's so loud it wakes everybody up, even your neighbors. So you're always under the influence. And when you turn on your phone, I don't know what's the first thing you do in the morning, but I think for a lot of people, it's really just turning on their phones and maybe scrolling on social media. And I'm not sure if that's healthy. I have done that, and I'm trying not to do that anymore, because when you scroll on social media first thing in the morning, you're just like, oh, what is happening? It's like you are absorbing everything that everyone around you is carrying, and before you know it, you already know the problems of the entire world or your friends from far, far, far away. No, that's the Marites syndrome, as I call it. So we're always under the influence. Now, we won't be watching this video, but let me just proceed with this. I'm going to be sharing with you a media message evaluation checklist. Now, this is based on the different elements of communication. If you remember earlier, sender, receiver, channel, noise, your message, and other elements, but we're going to be focusing on just the core elements of communication. So let's start with sender. The questions that you ask when you're doing a media message evaluation in terms of the sender is: who created the message? Okay? Who's the source? And is the source reliable? Is the source a news organization, a public citizen like a public official, or a private citizen, or an advertiser? So why is this important? We always start with the source because the source is the originator of the intention behind any message. Okay? So a message is crafted with an intention. You That's why this is purposive communication or intentional communication. There's always an intention behind every message, even the most random things. When you listen to pop songs today and the lyrics repeat over and over again, it feels like it's meaningless, but there's an effect there. There's an intended there's an intended effect. And some people claim even social media with its addictive mechanisms and algorithms, it's intentional. It's not an accident that social media gets us hooked. There's a lot of science behind it. People are engineering how to stimulate our minds, and how to maybe keep or even steal our attention and shorten our attention span in the process. So there's a lot going on. And the first thing that you need to think about when you read a post on Facebook, when you see a video about your favorite candidate or a political candidate that you don't like, you always have to look: who posted this, who made this message, where is this from, and is this source credible, reliable, or is the source possibly biased? Does the source have ulterior motives? Diba? So look at the source. Number two is now involving the message. So first it was the sender, and now we're gonna evaluate the message. The questions that we ask are, and you see it on your screen, what does the message say? So that's the what of it. And that involves your subject, your main point, your support. So when you see a post on Facebook, you evaluate what is it saying. So if it's a political campaign, maybe it's saying support this candidate. The subject is this candidate. And the main point is I want you to support this candidate. Or maybe it's the other way around. The subject is this specific candidate, and the main point of your message is do not support or boycott or um, it's just there's a lot. Maybe it's to put someone down. Okay. And the third question, which is very important, is the information fair and logical? Now, those are two things, right? Fair, very simply meaning that the information is not biased to a certain side. Okay? Walang kinikilingan, walang pinoprotektahan. It's not trying to protect the interest of one party or one person. And when you say logical, is it is there reasoning in it? Is it do you see it being logical in its arguments, right? There are many ways. If I'm sure you've studied philosophy in senior high or logic in senior high school, or you're gonna have other subjects related to logic or philosophy, and you're gonna learn what are the ways to argue in a logical manner. And this is important for you to learn because today there are a lot of arguments that are based on either fallacies or false claims, or they're based on attacks on a person and that person's character. Okay, so instead of it being about uh, a specific point, it becomes an attack of the person itself. Like um, an example that I gave in the last session, instead nga inyuhang i-criticize or i-evaluate ang plataporma sa isa ka kandidato, inyo na noong atakihon ang kandidato. Nga let's say bulok siya, or this person is a liar, or what is it, this person is bobo or dumb, and other demeaning, derogatory terms. And I'm speaking on very broad strokes here because I think on all sides, a lot of political supporters can be harsh and can be very illogical. So, fair and illogical. Number four, what points of view are shared in the message and which ones are left out? So, by point of view, we're talking about um, whose point of view or whose perspective is being prioritized in this message. For example, if it's a campaign on racism, I'm gonna give you some examples later. Kung racism, usually there's a I'm just gonna use black and white, but it's not the most politically correct term, but there's always that friction, right, between black and white. And the question is always which perspective is being prioritized. Is it the white person's perspective and experience, or is it the black person's experiences and points of view? So you're always looking asa gagikan ning a message, and who is speaking or being spoken for in this. Number five, what images or sounds catch my attention? So when you look at an image, it can be like a video or just a photo. You look at what stands out. Is it a photo of, let's just say, um, is it the color? Is it the background? Is it the color of the person's skin, the hairstyle? So you're looking at different elements in a message, whether it's an image or a video or an audio. It's in different formats, right? Messages come in different formats. And you're looking at what are the things that catch your attention. Okay, that's part of evaluating. Now, next, we're talking about medium. And when it comes to medium or evaluating the medium, you're asking what type of media is used to deliver this message. Okay? What platform is being used? Are you using print, the newspapers, or are you using online means, ads on Facebook? Are you using radio, right? So that's gonna affect the effectivity of a certain message. Number seven, you're asking what are the strengths and weaknesses of the media format. So, for example, if this advertisement or this campaign poster is using, let's say, it's a it's a it's a video, but maybe it would have worked better with just an image with a caption instead of like a long video that people have to watch. Or maybe it's a podcast or a radio show, but maybe it would have been more effective if we had like a visual, if it were turned into a video interview. Okay, so strengths and weaknesses of the media format. Different formats have different strengths, and currently one of the strongest formats is really video, because video engages multiple senses. Your visual sense, your auditory sense, um to a certain extent, it can evoke uh like tactile, or touch senses, because your body is also reacting. But ultimately, video at this time is really one of the strongest formats used. Next, we have, when it comes to the receiver, who is the target of the message? So you have to evaluate this this campaign poster, this advertisement. Who is the target of this? Because sometimes we don't understand a certain message because we're not the ones who are intended to receive it. Hindi pala tayo yung recipient. For example, if DOH produces a video for frontliners, if we watch it and it's so technical because it's about, let's say, vaccines or boosters and all of those critical information, pero specific siya with jargon that's only for frontliners, then tayo nga, di ba? So DOH has to create another message, another video that's tailor fit to the general public. Okay? And number nine, how might people different from me interpret this message? So this is such an important question. When you're as a social worker in the future, you're going to be making announcements, you're going to be maybe publishing posts on social media, or you're going to be running your own campaigns like you did last semester with me in my Com 50 class. And one of the things you need to consider whenever you post something online, or whenever you say something or write something that will be consumed by other people is, unsa kaha ang huna-hunaon, or unsa kaha ang interpretation ani sa mga tawo nga lahi nako. If I post something political on my Facebook page, what will the people who disagree with me think of how I how I frame this message? Okay, and who are my how who are the people that need to see this, and am I using the right channels to reach them? Okay, and next is context. So we talked about context in the earlier lecture, and context is ultimately well, you have to ask, what is the purpose of this message? Is this an educational message? Is this a political message? Is this a religious message? And when you know the purpose of a message, then you can evaluate it based on its context. Like, are the words used appropriate? Is the background music used appropriate? Are the images used appropriate? Okay. Number 11, who controls the transmission of this message? Now, when it comes to controlling transmission, for example, you have Facebook. Facebook has its own community guidelines. And if you violate those guidelines, you're going to get blocked from posting. Or someone might report you because, for example, if you post something offensive with, let's say, something that involves harassment or sexual content, especially nowadays that Uh, a lot of accounts were getting hacked. So you have to consider who is controlling the transmission of this message, and are they doing something to influence the message, to change it, to regulate it? Okay, so yeah, you also learned that in your Com 50 class, right? There were periods in the history of the Philippines when the media was under, let's say, martial law. And when media was under martial law, there were only very few media companies that were allowed to function, and they were always pro government. They were supportive of the government at that time. And those who disagreed with the government were either sent to jail, or they were uh, harassed in ways that are currently proven by our records. So when you look back, because the government was in control of the media at that time, then the media's message was also tarnished because they had interests of their own, and those interests are basically pro government. Okay, so those are some examples. Now I'll give you this one. Look at this. This is an ad by the United Colors of Benetton. And if you know the United Colors of Benetton, you will know that they are a global fashion company. 'Di ba? Social ang United Colors of Benetton eh. When I was, I think in high school, I had this very positive image of United Colors of Benetton. When I would see their logo or their tag on something or someone's clothes, bisag ukay pa na. Kaya sa we see this in ukay, right? Mga branded clothing. And this is a fashion brand, a clothing brand. If you don't know the brand, Google it and you're going to find out more. But this is one of their ads. And if we apply the media message evaluation framework, well, we start with the source, right? Who's the source? And we know who the source is because it says there, United Colors of Benetton. And once you see United Colors of Benetton, you can Google, okay, kinsa man ni, who is United Colors of Benetton? So then when you Google it, you know, oh, okay, they're a global fashion brand. And after you discover that they're a global fashion brand, you get to see maybe their track record. What do they believe in as a company? You know, what do they stand for? Okay, and then you go to, you know, your message. When you're evaluating the message, what is this trying to say? What's the subject? And you're like, wow, I have to analyze this because I see, what are these? There are three. Well, it's a heart, right? It's a heart, a human, hopefully a human heart. And then there are words on the heart, white, black, and yellow, and it's against a white background. The hearts have a like a shadow, so it's probably like a real photo of a heart, not just something that's um digitally designed or drawn. And what's the main point of this? Maybe what is the main point of this? And as you're evaluating the message, of course, when you start with the source, you already know that the United Colors of Benetton is a brand that champions racial diversity. So from the very beginning, even before the brands today thought that Black Lives Matter, or that cultural diversity and racial equality and diversity were cool or were necessary. Even before that, in the 1980s, the United Colors of Benetton were some of the first brands to champion this advocacy. And one of the people who led this movement um, through United Colors of Benetton is this man. His name is Oliviero Toscani. And you can Google Oliviero Toscani. He's a renowned but also rather controversial photographer, because many of his ads, although they were, yes, they were provocative, but they were very vocal about social issues. Okay, this is Oliviero Toscani, and these are his own words, Oliviero Toscani, in his own words, he said, I tell a story with images relating to the moment of history I am in. I am a witness to my time, or also my wishes of the things that could be made better. So, in essence, Oliviero Toscani uses his photographs to reflect the reality of the time that he is in, okay, of the history he is in. And if you also know United Colors of Benetton, their founder, Luciano Benetton, said the purpose of advertising is not to sell more. It's about communicating the values of the company. So when you're looking at that, you're putting that together and you're like, okay, when I look at this ad, it's an advertisement, obviously, because United Colors of Benetton is a fashion brand. It's a clothing brand. It's like Zara, Zalora, Shein. Is that Shein or Shein? Um, and what else? What are other fashion brands? Pen Shop, Bench. So you know that this is a brand that wants to sell. However, according to their founder, the purpose of advertising for them is not to sell more. It's about communicating the values of the company. And so that is why Oliviero Toscani created these ads. According to him, they're not meant to be controversial or to just catch the attention of people, but they're meant to catch the attention of people so that they could know what are the things that matter and that need to be discussed, that are urgent in society today. Okay? So there are different what is this perspectives on Toscani's work. Nindot kaayo i-evaluate iya nga work kay daghan kaayo ka o makuha, no? For example, this is one of the earlier ads by United Colors of Benetton. And what do you see? Right? You see color, you see people of different races, right? We have um, from the representation of the three hearts, black, yellow, and white. I'll just use that. So we have the representations of different skin colors and races. And we have the brand United Colors of Benetton, and presumably their models are or these people are wearing United Colors of Benetton. And from just one look, you'll know, okay, because United Colors of Benetton is about racial diversity and equality, then perhaps this is what this photo is about. It's about celebrating the different faces of racial diversity and equality. Okay, there's a lot of traffic going on, even if it's nighttime where I am. So I'm really sorry, but I hope that I'm still getting through to you. Now, this one is okay, here. Okay, look at this. It's still United Colors of Benetton, but and you know that they're about racial equality and unity and diversity, right? But this photo received a lot of criticism, primarily because okay, why? Okay, I'm gonna give you some time to analyze this. Just look at this photo. What do you see? What are the things that stand out to you? Obviously, the medium that's being used is photograph. This is a photograph. The platform, these were usually printed in magazines, or I'm not sure if they made it to the newspaper, but usually magazines or billboards, even. And for United Colors of Benetton, of course, we see two children, right? They're children, and one is, let's just say, black, and one is white. We'll just use those terms. And one of the things that people noticed about this photo is, and I'm not sure if you see this, but the child, the white child, looks like with ringlets, right, golden hair. The child with white skin seems to be portrayed as a cherub or as a little angel, whereas the child with dark skin with black skin has horns. So his natural hair has been shaped to look like horns. And you kind of ask the question, so what is this picture trying to say? Is it trying to say that white people are angelic and good and black people are essentially bad and demonic, right? But then other people would say, is this a statement being made by Oliviero Toscani? Is it offensive because it's not true, or is it offensive because it is true? Because there was a time in society when they really thought that black people or people of color were lesser, or even were of evil descent. No, they came from evil ancestors, and those with white skin were they came from, from good ancestors. So there's that, there are prejudices already existing in society. And if you think about it, maybe Toscani was not trying to provoke people by showing something scandalous, but he's actually trying to make people think of what they already believe in. That maybe deep inside their subconscious, people at this time, I think this was in the 1980s, people at this time really did think that those who were black uh, were scary, were evil, tend to harm or do violence, right? There was a time when people thought of it that way. They were afraid of black people because they might get hurt, and there was this notorious reputation for black people. And then there was a time in society when white people were put on a pedestal, where when they were basically patronized and prioritized. And I think today it's a lot less of that, because there's been a lot of reform, and people are far more aware and more outspoken about the injustices that happen. But you kind of ask, okay, is this advertiser trying to just have like clickbait, na parang people will be interested in this ad or in this brand? Or is this advertiser really reflecting an important issue in society today, which is that even as children, there's already prejudice towards those who were black and those who were white, as if their destiny was marked by the color of their skin. That, oh, this child, he's gonna grow up to be a criminal. Or, oh, this child, she's gonna be such an achiever. She's gonna do so well in life. She's gonna live with a golden spoon on her mouth. Okay? So there's a lot going on in there. Really, if you think about it, if you know how to evaluate and critically analyze images, you will not just scroll through your phone quickly. You'll actually pause and meditate and kind of just think. And I want you to do that, class. I want you to think about the things that you see, about the things that you hear, about the things that you read or watch. Because if you don't think, you're going to get deceived. And a social worker who does not know how to think and to differentiate between truth and lie is a very dangerous social worker. um, Being a social worker means that you have a public responsibility to serve people's needs. And if you do not know what is true from what is false, what is right from what is wrong as a social worker, if you don't know how to filter the messages that you see online, and if you believe things immediately and you support something without checking the truth behind it, you're gonna be influencing so many people, because whether you like it or not, you are influencing someone. So, class, do you realize the burden of responsibility? If you want to be a registered social worker or a social worker, this responsibility to lead other people to truth, to good, to make decisions that will help them in the long run, that responsibility is going to be on your shoulders. Okay? So think right now, with every click, with every scroll, with every message that you're sharing, with every word that you're saying, think about the people that you're going to serve. Is this going to help a woman who is abused? and who has nowhere else to run. Is this going to help a child who grew up in a very abusive environment? Is this going to help a man who was accused falsely and who was put in jail and robbed of his freedom because of the lies that were spread about him, and because our justice system is not healthy or is not in the best condition? Okay, so think about these things, and I invite you to be critical consumers of media. Okay, next. Okay, this one is not recent, but if you remember, okay, what do you see? You see people, okay, when you look at an image, you're like, okay, what is this image? Who is the source? That's the first question. Who is the source? Do you see any source here? There's no source, right? Okay, so you don't know who this image is from, or who created this image, or who took this photo. So you go into what's in the image. So there are young people, probably, I'm not sure, high school or college age, maybe college. And then they're having the sign. What does the sign mean? And maybe you can Google that. What does the three-finger sign mean? Three-finger salute. Okay? What is happening in the world today involving these people? And when you do that, um, you can be more informed, right? You don't just scroll through. Kay, usay ra ba class no ang nahitabo karon? Ang mga video, ang mga picture sa una, himuon siya nga fake news nga kintahay karon nahitabo, 'di ba? That's happening a lot lately. Kanang sa TikTok, dali ra kayo mag-edit og mga videos, right? I-cut-cut ra nimo, walay context, naiingon ang isa ka tawo, unya madaot na siya sa imong pananaw. Kay naa kay nadunggan nga bisag pila ra ka seconds, nya lahi dayto yang pasabot, pero tungod kay biased ang source, nalahi na noon ang iyahang giingon. Does that make sense, class? And I'm saying this because it's so important for you not to be easily deceived by the messages you see online and offline. Okay? So, this is actually a group of medical students, and they're holding up the three-finger salute at the Yangon funeral. This is in Myanmar. Okay, Myanmar. And if you know what's been happening in the last 2 years, Myanmar has been under a military coup. Okay, so it's a military takeover, and it's been brutal. People have been killed without reason, children killed, um, just innocent lives taken. And there's been a lot of not just death but poverty, and the kids are not able to study because there's a lot of violence going on. And um, if I invite you to look into this, to what's happening in Myanmar, this happened. Wow, it's been 2 years, right? 2020, and this is what's happening. What happened in Myanmar in 2021? Uh, right. It's been a year. Sorry. So it's been a year since then, almost a year, and you see this three-finger salute during Easter. It's an Easter egg, and there's a lot going on in there: guns and bombs and violence. And I know people in Myanmar, so this is very close to my heart. And I hope that as future social workers, you're also aware of the things that are going on around the world and around the country and around your community. So stay updated. Try to follow reputable news sources. This is from CNN World. So do your best to check your sources and follow reliable sites only. Okay, not fake news. No to fake news. Okay. Now we're gonna go to the power of nonverbal cues. We're at 39, almost 40 minutes. Let's finish this. It's quite late where I am. It's almost 10:30 p.m. So I'm sorry if I look tired, but let's finish this. So we just did evaluating messages. We're going to do the power of nonverbal cues. And then we're going to talk about creating an ad using Simon Sinek's Golden Circle. And at the end of this lecture, you're going to be having a group project. Okay, don't worry, you're going to have enough time. You're going to submit this uh, in, I think, 2 to 3 weeks. 3 weeks, yeah. So you're going to have enough time to do this. Okay, this is another interesting video, the history of emoji. We won't play this during this video. I don't want to waste your time, but you can check this out. It's in CNN, okay? And this is another video by TED. This is on TED Talks, on YouTube, and this is on the power of your body language. So you can also check this out during your free time. And basically, one of the most important takeaways from that video in TED is by Amy Cuddy, is really high power versus low power body language. Okay, so you see here on top, you have what you call high power body language. There's a man with his thighs open. So the essence of this is that before you do anything scary or that involves public speaking, you're gonna do these poses, high power poses, for at least 2 minutes before a public speaking event, before an interview. And by doing these high power poses for 2 minutes, at least 2 minutes, you're gonna be able to affect how you carry yourself. And it's gonna give you a confidence boost. Okay. So Amy Cuddy is basically saying that our nonverbals, the way that we carry our bodies, the way that we do our posture, or the way we sit, the way we stand, it affects the way our brain works. And you can actually trick your brain into thinking, oh, I'm confident, I'm not afraid. So just focus on the poses on the first row. Okay, there's this guy. Try to do this wherever you are. So there's this guy kind of leaning back on his chair, and his legs are wide open, and it's an open pose. So the idea is, if you're about to do a public speech, try to do open poses, and it's going to improve your confidence level. The same guy, the second one, is another open pose. So his hands are behind his back or his neck, and his legs are kind of naka number 4 pero open pa rin, di ba? Or there's this woman, it's called the superwoman pose, right? So she's standing up, and I'm not gonna stand up, but she's standing up, the third photo, and nakaganon. Okay, I'm gonna stand up pala. Okay, nakaganon siya sa waist, and just do that for 2 minutes, maybe walk around backstage, or walk around dun sa before the waiting room before your interview, and you do this pose, and it's gonna help boost your confidence, according to Amy. And other poses, just the first row. The second row are examples of low power body language. And when you say low power, they tend to kind of pull your confidence level down. Okay, so why is it important to evaluate the messages we consume? Can you type your answer? Why? Okay, the answer is basically because we are always under the influence. Okay? Always. We're always being influenced by something or someone, 'di ba? Makakita ka og someone nga nindot og sinina, di ba ganahan kay ka mangutana siguro, or mahuna-una ka asa nagikan yung gisuot. Or you see your favorite boy band, let's say BTS, and you see them online, and they have this new outfit, di ba? Uh, Even if the outfit, I know of a Korean star, not BTS, but he wore this flowery pajama. So pajamas, I mean, nag-wear siya flowery pajamas, and in just a matter of time, na sold out ang flowery pajamas. Baratuhon na siya, but because the actor wore it, everyone suddenly wanted it. Okay, so we're always under the influence, and we won't watch that. Okay. Now, what are the questions we need to ask to effectively evaluate the messages of the media we consume? So, I'm going to quickly run through the slides for you. Okay, there are sender questions. So, please try to memorize these questions, or memorize these questions. You're going to need them for our future assessment, perhaps in a quiz or a long exam, but memorize these questions, okay? Write this down on your notes and remember them and try to apply them. Look at the post from a friend of yours on social media or one of your posts on social media and try to ask the different questions that are in this media message evaluation checklist. Okay? Great. Okay, so we already talked about deepfake in Com 50. And if you know what deepfake is, it's basically synthetic media and an existing image is replaced with someone else's likeness. So, ang face sa isa ka tao, i-attach siya lawas nga galihok and it's a video so yeah murag synchronize yeah ba there's like a technology involved that kind of helps the video sync with your voice and kind of warps your voice to sound like that person, and before you know it you think that Barack Obama is saying something or President Duterte is saying something that he didn't say, or someone else is saying something that they didn't say or doing something that they didn't do. So grabe, deep fake is there's a lot of potential in this technology, but essentially it can also be used for a lot of bad. So I'll just scroll through this. You see that mechanism. So this guy is speaking, but he's like there's like an avatar and it's the face of Barack Obama, and it's being recorded as if Barack Obama was speaking. Okay, so it's very dangerous technology. It can, yeah, but it's not perfect yet. So obvious, yeah. Right now, obvious pang a deep fake, but perhaps technology will get more and more advanced, and it's gonna get less and less obvious and more dangerous. Now we have this. It's an app. It's called the My Heritage app. I think some of you have used this, and it animates old photographs. So this is another example of deepfake technology for mass use, and I think it's a good use, beneficial use. Okay, we'll quickly breeze through Facebook privacy. There has been a lot of instances of being tagged in malicious pornographic content. I have a friend who recently got victimized by this. Gihack yung account. Thankfully, na-recover. And here are some tips how to set your privacy settings to avoid malicious tagging. Just remember, go to your profile, click settings and privacy, click settings, click notifications, and then click tags and select friends, and just try to restrict your tagging limit to friends so that strangers cannot tag you in their posts. Okay, but if your friend gets hacked and you get tagged, that still happens. Just report the post or untag yourself. Okay, now here are some nonverbal cues. I'll just quickly go through them because I'm sure you've learned them in senior high school. Just try to remember them, pause the video, take note of them, and familiarize yourself with these nonverbal cues. You have kinesics, which is basically gestures, facial expressions, movement, posture, rate of walk. Paralinguistics is the way words are spoken, variations in the voice, volume, pitch. Okay, pitch. Okay. Proxemics is basically proximity, nearness, space, and distance. Okay. Haptics, touch. Haptics. How is touch being used by a communicator to communicate? Then you have clothing and artifacts. So that involves your appearance, your style, the earrings you wear or don't wear. So it's all there. And finally, you have color. So in terms of color, we really want variations in terms of clothing and environmental colors. You'll have a few more slides on that. And finally, chronemics, which is using time to communicate. So, how you use your time and how you kind of space things out. And if you show up early or late or on time for an appointment, you're still communicating. Okay? So, we're supposed to go through each of these, but we're kind of running long. And the vehicles are still buzzing around me. I'm really sorry, class. Uh, I'm really hoping that we can get electricity back so that we can record in peace. But here are alternatives. Um, yeah, these are some videos on changing your voice and changing your life. Uh, I will still give you a link to this. This is a really good video. Don't miss it. Now, in terms of types of nonverbal cues, there's also proxemics, so space and distance. So this is the social distance, which is the third level in terms of distance. It's 1 to 4 meters. So this was actually first coined in 1963. So when you say social distancing, it's from this from these categories by Edward Hall. Okay, haptics. This is how to give a proper handshake. Very interesting topic. Uh, you'll get to watch this also, but essentially, how to give a proper handshake is just I'll send you the link to this video. I think that would be best. Okay? But you have to be firm, you have to lock it in place, and you have to give it one shake. Okay? See that? It's locked in place. Okay, and then you do like a few shakes. All right, and then you let go. You let go. Okay, tapos, ayan, clothing and artifacts. Ito yung dress code natin eh. Pag naka-zoom tayo. Diba? Relatable. Okay, these are the different dress codes. Uh, pause the video and try to see each one. So if you're wondering, ano ba yung business formal? This is what it looks like. Ano ba yung semi-formal? This is what it looks like. Casual. Ito pala. Okay, we have one for males also. Then we have, yes, color. So these are the different like color psychologies, kumbaga. And you can pause the video again and just look into each one and see which one is my favorite color and does it really speak about you. Okay, I love this so much. Look at that. This is space. Okay, the use of space. And then finally, chronemics, which is using time to communicate. Now, please pause this video again and just copy or take note of the different rules in terms of time, or not really rules, but kind of norms in terms of time in different countries in the world. So, there are different approaches to time if you're from South Korea, Malaysia, Japan, Mexico, China, Germany. Many ways of approaching time. This is another slide. Please pause the video and copy, or just take note of, you don't have to write everything down, just some keywords so that you know how to deal with these different cultures in terms of time. Okay, and then Filipino time. Now, this is cool. This is from Filipino. The idea of Filipino time is said to have originated in the Spanish colonial era, okay? When Spanish officials considered arriving late as a status symbol, o 'di ba? Fashionably late. So, ngayon na-adopt siya ng mga Pinoy, and yung mga Amerikano na sumunod sa mga Spaniards were dismayed, no? And they eventually labeled it Filipino time. Supposedly to show na American time is superior than Filipino time. So that's a fun fact. Okay, and then we have social media marketing. You did this last semester essentially. Partly you were marketing a campaign, and you really want to focus on how social media marketing is meant to connect with your audience, to build your brand, to increase sales, to drive website traffic. Okay. Finally, advertising. And so what is advertising? You are communicating with the users of a product or service. It's a means of communication. Whereas advertisements are messages paid for by those who send them. And their intention is to influence or inform people who receive the message. Okay? So advertisements are usually paid for. There's money involved, and the intention is to inform or to influence people who receive them. Okay, here are some differences. You can pause and take a look at this. And just to wrap up, so what, again, is the most important question asked by an effective communicator? And so what forces you to think about the impact of the messages that you communicate and the messages that you consume. So I love this. Before you speak, let your words pass through three gates. At the first gate, ask yourself, is it true? At the second, ask, is it necessary? At the third, ask, it is kind. So, not all things that are true are necessary, and not all things that are necessary are kind. Or what is true may not be necessary, and what is necessary may not be kind. And I hope that these filters, kumbaga parang nagfi-filter ka ng water, you're purifying water, helps you purify your message. When you're about to say something, try to let it pass through these three filters. Tinuod ni, importante ni, is it, how do you Bisaya, is it kind? Makadala ba ning kaayuhan or kadaot? Is this uh, spoken in a kind way? Uh, ang akong pagsulti ani out of love na abay paghigugma or kasuko? Gusto ba nako ang kaayuhan sa isa ka tawo or nga siya madaot? No? So think of these things. So why is learning the skill of social media marketing important for future social workers? Ayan. Okay. Bago tayo pumunta dyan, think of this and answer it in the comment section below. Why? Why is it important to learn social media marketing if you're a future social worker? And finally, we have Simon Sinek's Golden Circle. And I won't let you watch this video. I'll just show you the Golden Circle. And there's a why, there's a how, and there's a what. You can pause and you can read. But the point of the Golden Circle is that most of the time we know what we do, we know how we do it. For example, we we want to learn what? Social work, right? And how do we do social work? Well, we meet the needs of society according to different platforms, different different institutions, reaching out to various sectors, especially the most marginalized ones. So you know the how of social work. But do you know the why of social work? That's the question. Why social work? Why does social work exist? Why does it matter? Why does the world need to know about it? So what? Okay? So, the most important question you need to ask and answer if you want to be a purposive and intentional communicator is, so what? What does it matter? How will my message, how will my life influence other people? What impact will I leave behind? Okay? And here are some examples of some cute ads. This is from, how do you say this? Chupa Chups? Chupa Chups? Okay. So, uh, cute, right? Sabi sa baba, if you can read it, it's sugar-free. Okay? It's sugar-free. O, diba? And so smart, so brilliant. So even the ants are avoiding it because there's nothing, no sugar in it. And this is another one. This is conservation, a conservation ad. And it's just so smart because there's optical illusion going on, right? If you look at the optical illusion that's going on, at first there are like penguins, right? And then gradually, they're swimming, 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 swimming. Okay? So the message here is essentially see the reality before it's too late. The endangered African penguin needs your help. Act now and help change the picture. Di ba? Adopt a penguin today. Ang ganda. So, there's optical illusion going on. Very smart. And this one is for a university. This is for the University of Sydney, I think. Yes, the University of Sydney. And it's just smart. They gathered testimonies from their most famous or most impactful alumni, and they made these posters. I'm not sure if they use it for social media, but they made these posters just showcasing their alumni who made a difference in the world or who are making a difference in the world. And their tagline is leadership for good starts here. Okay? Leadership for good starts here. I like that. So, okay. So, ayan. This is another one. It's Nike's Find Your Greatness. We're going to quickly play it. Oops, sorry. So, it's just, wait, let's see how.
Somehow we've come to believe that greatness is a gift reserved for a chosen few, for prodigies, for superstars. And the rest of us can only stand by watching.
Oh,
For superstars. And the rest of us can only stand by watching. You can forget that. Greatness is not some rare DNA strand. It's not some precious thing. Greatness is no more unique to us than breathing. We're all capable of it. All of us.
okay. That's it. It's a compilation. I like that. Yeah. Um, Find your greatness. Such a compelling ad. Well, we know it's Nike and they want to sell their products, right? That's still a very smart concept. There's more here. Um, just search on YouTube Nike Find Your Greatness. Okay. And now, in preparation for the BILC Communication Festival 2022, I'm gonna be giving you group work. And this group work will actually involve creating an ad. It can be in the form of an image or a video. An image needs a caption. So, but if your image says a lot already, maybe you don't need a caption. So, reflecting the message of the tagline, choose social work, choose BILC. I will be releasing the instructions on our virtual classroom. But essentially, I want you to be able to come up with your own ad for BILC for social work. Okay? And there's a tagline existing, but I'm going to revise this a little bit and say that if you have an idea that's better, like a better tagline for 2022, because this was our tagline for 2021. The challenge I have for you is to think of a tagline for 2022 and to create your own ad. And this is going to serve as your midterm project. Okay? And think of this as your way of helping BILC, but at the same time, helping more people come to know what social work is really about. how social work works, and finally, why they should choose social work. Why social work? So what if social work exists? Okay? So that's your challenge right now. Let the world know that social work exists and it matters. It matters to you and it should matter to them too. Okay? I think that's it. Yep, that's it. Thank you so much, class. It's been really challenging trying to finish this lecture, but I hope that you have picked up some useful tidbits of information. And if you have anything you'd like to say, feel free to comment below or just send me a message if you'd like to share something with me. Thank you and take care.